Apologize to Grayson right now.
Hello, do you hear us?
Apologize to Grayson right now.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, we have audio. I don't know what the heck happened, but hey, we're back.
Somebody got mad and he sent us to the demi-plane.
Apparently, because every audio option on Discord and OBS was completely changed to default, and that's not how we roll in this house.
That's not how that works. No,
that's not how that works. We have specific settings.
Usually if ever I have video or audio issues on a stream, I just say that Grayson got mad at me and he put me in the demi-plane, and that's why nobody can interact with me.
I think that's what it is.
What did you do? What did you do?
I mean, I think I made fun of him on Friday, but I'm not sure.
Oh, that's probably why. He's still holding on to that.
I mean, we can ask Lynn if Grayson's ever encountered an aboleth and they had beef with each other.
Fair.
Yeah, we'll see. But hey, guys, take trial number 2. Take 2. El segundo. Hey guys, welcome to Divine and Conqueror's ReRoll podcast. Tonight's conversation is going to be about the pace of the game. How to keep the story flowing, how to keep it going. But as per juge, we let me turn that. Okay, cool. If there's any thing that you guys wanted to talk about or discuss about Friday's game or anything in general, this is the time to do so. Because after that, you hold your peace. Because
since Grayson silenced me before I could say it, my question as always stands. What the fuck, man?
Well, what do you mean? As in, like, you
just in general
didn't like the aboleth, or
as I'm currently stepping into your house to have some beef with you. Hey man, what the fuck?
if you hear my corpse falling on the ground, that's Vic stabbing me. He walked all the way from San Antonio over here just to do so.
I was walking all the way. I had to duke it out with him.
And our jokes about living that podcast that Rona, almost said a bad word, that Rona lifestyle of hearing microwaves and dogs barking in the background because we're not at the studio.
We're doing some guerrilla podcasting. Yeah, we're doing it live. We're just doing it all live.
Yeah, I think 2020 is hashtag fuck it, we're doing it live.
Okay, we're doing it live.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of Sacred World, since I am currently the only player here at the moment.
Yes. Oh, we should also introduce ourselves, which, again, Take 2 completely messes up. Hi.
Man.
Jesus. There's a Vic, and Dickie's joining us soon.
Orc Death currently stepped out back to the bar. He'll be right back.
Yeah, his drink was not up to par. Someone might get a black eye.
Not enough hops in it, man.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess since at the moment I am currently the only Sacred World member in our designated scream hole for our podcast. Oh, Orc Death has returned to us.
Oh.
I'm back.
Mighty Orc Death. How was the ale? Did they fix it?
Did they?
I'm preparing it.
All right. Yeah. It's not up to par, so he must do it himself.
The joke was, since you left, it was because Orc Death's drink wasn't up to snuff, so he had to go and punch somebody at the bar for a better one.
Basically,
he had to hop the counter to go make himself his own,
and show him how to do it right.
Like, if you're I'm not gonna waste my time here. Let me help you and myself, and your business will thrive.
Yeah, yes, precisely.
But yeah, what was your question, Rick?
That's not so much as a question, just more so much as a just general statement of how the god dang do you do it? Having these like crazy scenarios that you put us in and expect us to move through them with all the grace and intelligence of a functioning party.
I don't know what you mean. I've been thinking about that, specifically how I'm writing like Friday's game versus Wednesday's game, and now Sunday's game.
Yeah.
Which Friday, which could go into one of the first topics about expectations, session 0, that will help set the pace of the game. Our session 0 that we had, Dickie unfortunately was kind of like thrown into the ropes. He's like, all right, I'll take the punches. I got it. But for you guys, it was very hopeless, creepy-esque,
Yes.
I can say. And those are the type of shows that I like watching.
Right.
It's bad thing happens, kicks off the series, and then you start getting things, and you start achieving, and you start like solving the big mystery of the world, and then a bad thing happens, and then you guys take a step back. You move forward, and then 2 more bad things happen, and then you take a step forward, and then bad things happen. And it's the I guess for me the idea of the struggle, like the character is put through hell, but they will come through because they're the heroes.
Right.
So that, I guess, I don't know.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because I guess one of the questions, if I could poke at your brain meat for a minute.
I have one of those. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I'm glad you do.
At least one. I don't know.
Just one.
It might not.
You don't keep a spare one in the jar in the back room. Just in case.
At least in the freezer.
At least in the freezer. No joke, because Texas Frightmare is an amazing place to go, but not this year. I have had different specimens in jars.
Nice.
That unfortunately had to be thrown away when I moved to Austin many years ago. But I did have a couple of I think there was my favorite was a piggy fetus.
Oh my god.
I
would love that.
Yeah.
I'm watching a show that I think you need to watch.
Please.
It's called Ozzy and Jack's World Detour.
Oh,
it's
right
Ozzy Osbourne and his son doing road trips.
That's awesome.
And last night they were in Huntsville going to a human decomposition lab. Basically, just
put dead
bodies. They put all dead bodies all over the place,
and the Beatles eat them.
And they just let bodies decompose.
Okay. I was like, because my friend works in Huntsville for the beetle farm. That I know that one of the projects was like the Houston Zoo needed a monkey to decompose a little bit faster. So they're like, you guys have beetles, flesh-eating beetles, go get them. And when they showed me the lab, and it was like, here's the monkey's ribs. Like, as horror fanatic I am, and as like macabre as I like reading my stories, and the I guess protective barrier of like looking at odd things online, it does not beat that. I will never forget the smell nor that specific tint of red as this there's just all these beetles all up on these ribs just eating them. Like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
That is a thing.
Hey.
And they're just like, yeah, it just goes in this plastic bag in a trash can. Just here in the school.
That's nice.
Like, all right, bro.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Tab, you went to school in Huntsville. Did you ever check out that body farm? She's leaving the room. You did.
You know what the doctor's name was? It was really her name. It was Dr. By the Way.
By the way. I love that. Oh my god, write that. Please, God, write that down for an NPC name. That's amazing.
That's actually amazing.
I have 2 favorite NPC names in the world. That's going to be my second one. So 2 favorite names for an NPC in the world. For the record, the doctor's name was Dr. By the Way. So that's my favorite NPC name from here on out. My other favorite is from another podcast, and the NPC's name was Scam Likely.
That's amazing.
Yes. So fantastic. Scam Likely. Hello, Scam Likely here. That's how you talk. It was great. Yeah, watch Dungeons and Daddies. It's a really good podcast. It's not a BDSM podcast. That's as they sell it.
I mean, it might be. It'll be. What's that? Crap. That movie.
Ow.
Man, it'd be cooler if you did. What's that starts with the D?
D.
It's like a movie like
Yep.
slice of life, high school in the early '80s.
Dazed and Confused.
Yes, Dazed and Confused. Thank you. There we go.
I'm so glad.
All right.
I'm so glad Dazed and Confused is considered a slice of life.
It's a slice of life, right?
Slice of life anime, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite one.
Yeah, it'd be cooler if they did. Were a BDSM show.
Oh my god! I mean, I don't know. They're counting down the number of episodes until it takes for them to say that they can't say that anymore.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Currently, where I'm at in the show, it's still not a BDSM podcast, but they think that their days are numbered.
It's gonna eventually
with how imaginative some of their players get.
But yeah, all right, cool. So let's body farms aside.
Body farms aside, D&T questions ago, which I guess I mean you're the only person that that's currently in the listing that plays Horde.
Yeah, I.
What's up?
I don't. My thought is, and I think I told Jeremiah. I was like, dude, we haven't even gotten inside the castle yet.
Y'all are still at the gates.
Yeah, we're still at the gates. Because of the Black Dragonborn Rosin,
Resmir,
Stephanie, that's her name.
Yes.
Resmir Stephanie.
Resmir Stephanie Von. Yes.
When they hit underneath that little bridge, I'm like, we got them. Like this fight has turned. I know we're gonna win now. I don't know if we are, but that's Fox's mentality.
You made her think about preserving her own life over doing her job. That's a thing.
Is that because we killed her already?
You don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe ask her about it.
I will ask her as a ape who's about to pummel. No, that was a pretty good fight, just because we're dealing with the ship going up, and a couple of people that are flying. We have the drakes are a different thing that we need to control. We're not necessarily like 100% engaged with the ogres, but there's still a constant threat there, because they're just shooting their ballistas and the javelins.
The amount of math I had to do in that game alone was absolutely unreal.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, if I'm flying this high, how high is the castle? And I'm like, that's a really good question, and I don't have tiers to show that.
Yeah, that's one of those things where, like, as amazing as Roll20 is, and yes, we make jokes here and there, it is an amazing program. It's because it's free and there for us to use. Therefore, it is phenomenal. And yeah, we don't have the... By the way, I bought another set of tiers for flight. I showed Tab at the preview of like next campaign, and it has to do with a small ship.
Oh my god!
And that
is it an airship? I swear.
There's different sizes of them.
God bless. Oh my god! I'm so excited.
I showed you guys a preview of the homebrew map.
Okay.
And if you look,
yeah, you did.
If you look closely, there is a place that actually has flying ships. So if I know some players are already in previous campaigns, I wanted this to happen, but like, well, that's lovely. Just the technology is not there. This next campaign, the technology will just be there. Where these are the new inventions of the world. So those are cool things.
It's gonna be so exciting.
Yeah. But alrighty. So, keeping the flow of the game going. As we were just discussing a little beginning of the podcast, just so you guys know how I'm flowing the conversation, because having a document translating into Discord took all the annotations that I had and like the spacing and like eloquence of how I want this conversation to flow. Essentially, I'm breaking down to like session 0 the DMs aid on the conversation, the player, and then like a whole bunch of open-ended discussions.
Right.
So
right. Which I guess I wanted to open up that
please.
realm of talking points for you with a question I wanted to pose. That being, you now DM 3 games on this channel.
Yeah.
How do you handle? I guess as the DM, how do you handle the pacing of each one? Since each of them vary very much based off of player, story, and mechanics in a way.
Session 0.
Yes.
Wednesday's game has been established. We are episode. I'm looking here at the calendar. We will be playing episode 84 this Wednesday. So I would not say that they're new to D&D, but that is the pace. This is an introduction to Dungeons and Dragons. It is a lot slower. I encourage questions. I encourage discussing the mechanics of the game. That is that table. Versus Sunday's game, which has been established. This is a super relaxed, casual game.
Right.
There's already players who were like, "Oh, I did this instead of that." I'm like, "Oh, you didn't tell me." Like, "Oh, my bad. I'll do that next time." I'm like, "All right, don't worry. This is super casual. Don't worry about it. This is a very just chill until we can fill." I don't like saying we're filling a void, but until it is a temporary holder because we were supposed to have a different game, but again, Rona. So until we figure out the technical side of how to do another stream at that time, we'll have that, and that makes it so that we do have that one day every single day of the week we have a stream, even though Monday and Sunday we are alternating streams or games, but we're still having something up for us here. And Friday's game, again, not that Dickie was ever a part of a session 0 because it was your a birthday gift, right?
Right.
That was
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Birthday request. I basically told her that for my birthday I'd like to play.
Yeah, and it was one of those like, well, we don't know if he's gonna keep coming, and they're like, well, he's always here, so let's give him an honorary like full member. Let's put him on the intro and everything.
He just kept staying.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah,
because
I know
like kept kicking ass.
Yeah, he did. Still the first to confirm an instant death. It was beautiful.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Yeah. I've only seen that 4 times in 15 plus years of playing the game, which is so freaking rad. But yeah, that's super cool. And yeah, and Fridays is like we're going heavy. Like if you see the trailer for the intro, I guess, for like the original DNC before the entire Twitch became DNC, and like the original show. It was creepy. It was horror based, and like you're dealing with hags and you're dealing with the god of nightmares. So like it's a very consequences are heavy focused game. So that also aids on the pacing of the game, and because now I have these 3 different mentalities of to go to your original question. Now that I have these different mentalities, I know how to write it. If I wanted to write it just being super selfish, all 3 games would feel like Sacred World.
Yeah,
because that is something I love. I want to put you in a situation where hope is small, but you do come out of it. But that's not appropriate for just friends that aren't part of DNC wanting to play a game. And me not having an additional time frame to do so. So here we go. We're doing here. Or Wednesday's group, who are everybody is new to the game. So like it's just not fair. They would not do well in these super pressured situations. Which is going back to my notes here, having that clear understanding at the beginning, having session 0, what are my expectations, what are the no's and what are the yeses for the game, the setting, the mood, all these things will definitely aid in whatever the pace of the game is. If you're going into, I played a Technoir campaign once, and it was politic heavy. So it's going to be a lot of sitting down and discussing what the appropriate move to do is when you're trading these drugs with these intergalactic beings. I think like crime games as well will have like that pace. I knew a couple of friends who played a D&D game, and like I would not have a campaign. I would never like be good at that situation. When they were discussing how for 3 sessions in a row they discussed the politics of trading sheep and the like mechanics of how that would work between these two nations. And I'm like, oh, like did you play like 30 minutes and like you guys just couldn't like finish the game, so you rescheduled? Like, no, these were like about 6-hour games. Like, well, no, not for me. But you go, you. That's if that's what you want to do. These historians and history majors, like that's what you want to do. Please do that. Because I think it's really important for the GM to tell their play style. That also will help you understand what characters you should bring to the story, how they can aid or not aid, or also keep up with the pace of the game. Because one of the big things I think for keeping pace is everybody being on the same page. And that's why the importance of session 0 is important. Redundancy in the sentence. Like Vic, and please correct me when I'm like off track here, but I would say that your campaign has the overall plot, but the individual backstories of the characters will be woven into the overall plot of the campaign.
Yeah, pretty much.
And versus like Dickie's style would be, Dickie has established, I am the god of the world, but the dice are the strings of faith of the world. So you have that to focus on. You like this with the whatever mechanics of the game is, but the importance of the dice rolling correctly at very crucial situations will definitely aid in you assessing the pace of it. I'm not going to waste my time trying to break something down if I'm a weakling, knowing that this could end badly for me. That's a grandiose situation, when I can just let the barbarian do it or the brute strength person do it, because the dice can determine something very positive or very negative depending on the situation. So like I think those little things will definitely help in the pace of the game, versus like mine will be like, we are a drama-based situation where I'm going to try to bring emotions out of people, and it has a overall dark theme, which I think will also help in pace the situation. Sometimes it's not appropriate to sit down and talk, versus sometimes you'll be emphasized by the story mechanics to just move forward. Another thing that I think within session 0, in a little bit of us, how we do pacing, is like streaming versus being at home. Like I know that my introduction to gaming was every Friday and Saturday for 7 hours, and we would have like an hour food break, and it's super more relaxed. Like the DM was drawing then and there. The maps weren't prepared. If I needed to grab a miniature, I was like, oh, I know I have that werewolf. I just need to find it. Give me a second, guys. And like that sets the tone of like it's more chill, it's more relaxed. I played, which I didn't last very long, with a group of people at U of H, and the game started as while people had magic going, someone was playing Pokemon. We were in the middle of the cafeteria, so people were getting up to go get food, and it was just like, it's your turn, but you're not here. Don't worry. Go get your food. We'll wait for you. And like that sets the tone of that game. That sets the speed of that game. It's just, we're here to entertain ourselves in a very chaotic way, and that game wasn't for me, but it works for them. That was 100% their style. So these things will definitely help the frame. Also, for us streaming, I think it's very important to set a time frame, especially for us that are in the smaller scheme of the streaming world, in the Twitch world, because we have day jobs. And Friday, most of us don't work on Saturday, so we can crank it up the time. But on Wednesdays, we have people that wake up at 5 a.m., so that 9:30 is a cutoff point, 9:45 hard end. Like, doesn't matter what we're doing, we have to cut the game at that time. And we have a 15-minute break in between, taking out the dog, grabbing a bite to eat. Those are important things. These breaks will also help with the pacing of the game. Establishing that at the beginning lets people know, like, okay, I have a couple of questions, but I know they're very personal, and it's like a matter of clarification for the DM. I'll just wait to discuss that during break, instead of like asking it now, especially if you're streaming. Even at home games, when we had like the 7-hour game in 1 hour block to go get food, all the mundane things like buying a sword at the inn or whatever, it was all done during that 1 hour, and it was very loosey-goosey for us at that time. But for these streams, I feel that a lot of the energy to keep the pace going and to not sit there and have an entire episode of just shopping, unless it is engaging, that's totally cool. I'm not saying that that's a boring episode. You can have an entire session where you're making jokes and having fun, and it's entertaining, and you're growing together as a party shopping. But if you're just shopping for spell components and like a pouch or something like that, sometimes it's better to just, we'll do it at break. It happened. Keep the story going. But for the DM or GMs, things like drawing the maps. The maps are pre-drawn here at the studio, or I have preset maps that are hidden. If you guys get to this fight, which you're probably going to, because a lot of the times I will have, hey guys, at the end of the games, what is your intention? Or if I have specific questions on individuals, I will let them know out of game. So I, the DM, am prepared. I'm like, so you probably are going to check out that spooky library. And I know there's going to be ghosts in there and you guys are going to need to fight it. So let me prepare that map just in case you guys get there. Things like having the music preset, like have the entire soundboard just in case. Having all the miniatures out just in case. All these things will definitely keep this pace of the stream going. As I'm looking at my notes,
I'll tell you, back in the old day when we used to do the map, we had to have graph paper. Dungeon Master would tell us how far we go, what openings they were, so we had to draw our maps as we were going through the areas.
Yeah.
So
I do for home games. I do miss that. And the reason why we don't do that here is because it's first we have the cameras, and it's nobody wants to stare at like my side of my shirt for 5 minutes as I draw this precisely, looking at my notes. Because we need to keep the story flowing. So that's why here it's a lot of theater at the mind, and then when a tactical situation happens, we have the map and the minis, or if it's something like you're entering a new room, then we'll quickly draw the situation out. Things nowadays that are very useful are like the pre-drawn maps that are like Piazzo has them, Pathfinder has them, D&D has a little bit of them. They're like, it's just paper to roll it out, boom, there's your dungeon. Easy to pack, easy to do. But that goes with the unfortunate meta portion of the game that once you see it, you can't unsee it. So if I put out the map in this beautiful laid out dungeon, and like one of the covers kind of slips, and you guys see like the head of a dragon, you're like, oh crap. I know we're fighting a red dragon at the end of this map. And, like, you can't unsee that. Versus the drawing each room as you go, you don't know what's there until you physically step into that room. And that was just so beautiful as a DM, because you had everything at your disposal behind the screen. I think we do lose that when we stream here and there. But it's we try our best. So for keeping the game going, for the DM, I think it's important to let the players have their roleplay minute. I say minute specifically just to make the point, like when the character takes their time to show how scared they are in the situation, and they're talking, they're role playing it out. Those are the golden little nuggets of the games. These are the things that like help us attach and put ourselves, and the audience puts themselves into the story and the relatability of it. But when it's like 10 minutes of that and it's not progressing the story, it's just stuck in its own little bubble, that's when it should be appropriate for the dungeon master to like, all right, and we go forward.
Yeah.
Or things like when the DM's like, all right, in the next 5 days, blank happens. I think that's good, because not every day is an adventure. Not every day is something that's going to be impactful. Sometimes you're just... It should be like, oh, you're making progress on the machine you're building, or you do finish your book. Like those things, you can just establish it as that. You don't have to get into every single little nitty-gritty thing and role play it out. Unless that's what you want to do, and that's fine. But for the sake of like a stream or keeping the progression of the story going. In with that, though, if the GM says, hey, we're transitioning to the next town, it's going to take 20 days. You should also be okay with the player saying, hey, I'm going to do this. Cool. It has been established that you did that. You shouldn't take that away from them, because it's not your story, DM. It's everybody's story together. But also do understand that the DM, when they're doing that, is because we're transitioning. We're moving forward. So if someone wants to stay stuck at the town, the player should understand we have all agreed and given permission for this person to be the narrator of the story. So if they're progressing it forward, let's progress forward. Let's not halt the speed of the story. As I'm going for the down preparation. Yes, sorry. Yes,
what I used to do whenever they're traveling long distances.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and set up the environment in case they pass a certain area, then there's something there, treasure or something.
Yeah.
But I allow them to roll a 6-sided dice every 4 hours of the day. So they would, one person in the group would roll for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And if one, then I have this little adventure that kind of sneaks into it, or they come across it unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So, or at night, they got guards, people got guard duty, something sneaking into camp at night, or in the morning when they're waking up, something shows up. It could be treasure, it could be, artifacts, it could be, another people, bandits, a caravan, monsters, it could be almost anything.
Yeah, because I know the older manuals had like the percentage of like what could be here.
Yep.
Yeah, some of the newer ones also have that as well, especially in Order of the Dragon Queen, since a lot of your journey had to do with traveling long distances to get from point A to point B. Sometimes it would give me tables that I'd have to roll for to see what event might happen while you're on the road.
And those things are cool. I know Pathfinder 2nd edition is working on like a hexagonal like map that essentially every single day you have 3 actions to do as a group versus an individual. And I think that's a good idea, because it's not 6-7 people discussing what's happening individually at the campsite. It's together, cumulatively. You have 3 things you're doing. You ate, you moved, and blank. And like those things are cool, if you're trying to like explain the randomness or the exploration of the world, it versus just point A to point B style. And I think that word preparation is super key to keeping the game flowing. Like when you guys come to the studio, there's books, there's pencils, there's 2 players handbooks at the end. Like there are now because I'm bragging about how I updated the table. Underneath the middle of the tables, there's plugs for your phones. I have charging cables. Your minis are already here. Things are already drawn. These things help the pace. You're not, oh man, my pencil broke. Sorry, I need to go. I know we're in the middle of combat, but I need to go grab a pencil because I need to mark down my HP. Or I forgot my character sheet at home. It's on my phone, but it's about to die, so give me a minute. Like, these things slow down the game, for sure. So, like, having all that prepared helps. It 100% helps. But going to players, unless you guys have any more points for DMs.
Well, the DM's the one that sets the pace. And, there's 2 types that are, and then there's the one in the middle that's good. There's type that just want to control the time, control everything, and kind of rushing people through stuff or taking forever to get something. And there's people that just, do whatever you want. It's kind of like, I call it the teacher in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
The teacher doesn't have control of the classroom, you got chaos. Yeah. Same thing with GM. If you don't have control of the game, it's going to be chaos. And it's not going to be fun. And I think a DM or GM that organizes himself, organizes the time, but yet it keeps the feel of a flow going.
Yeah.
They don't know it's a flow going. Yeah, we're traveling a long distance. So what fun is that? Well, you're traveling long distances, and you might cover 6 days in 5 minutes because nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, you found something happened. Okay, so now your time frame shrunk, and it's action, or it's adventure, or it's negotiation, or something.
Yeah.
And then after that, go through a longer period. But the game itself is still moving.
Yes.
And that keeps the players engaged in the game.
And yes, that's a great point. 2, actually, I think, from that could be elaborated on. The first one is to keep the flow going, to keep the progression of the game. I believe that the DM should... What is the big plot? There has to be a big plot. If your game is just people getting together, drinking beer, let's see what happens, cool, that's fine. That's that game. But for the engaging part of the story, to collectively tell a story, especially for us that are streaming it, every game should have information or something that pushes forward. Every game should have some piece of advice, like for Sacred World. Every game, whether it be 1 hour of your character's lives or 2 months of your character's lives, there is something happening that is explaining or re-emphasizing something about the big plot. Even if you didn't understand it, yet when you can go back, as a character, you're like, I saw a dragon die. But as the player, 3-4 sessions after the dragon's death, you're like, that's why it's important. This dragon died, and this dragon died, and this dragon died. These dragons were like pretty much controlling a large part of the world in one way or another, and now they're not here to do that. Holy crap, that's letting Lamashu reign more. That's letting control happen more.
Whoops.
Whoops on
Whoops a daisy.
It's I was like, what would happen if you guys let the Black Dragon live? That would have been interesting.
It's okay. West will think about that a lot.
Yeah. So it's like every single game should have something sprinkled in. Like with your game, Vic, every single session we're learning more about the cult. Every single what they want, and now it's very heavy focus on like they want Zevia as a sacrifice, and we're like, there's no way you're getting our boy. That's our.
You can't have our son.
You cannot have our collective son. But these things help the story go along, and the idea, as I'm trying to recall, one of the 2 points that what was it that I wanted to say?
I don't know, but Fox will be damned if his tiny captain is taken.
Fox is do not mess with Fox's captain. That he's not the actual captain, but he's just emphasizing captain.
Junior captain.
Yeah, you're junior captain in training.
Captain
in training. Yeah, even though that's not his lifestyle at all. Pace of game traveling. I'm sure the point will come back to me.
Yeah.
But and I was hearing a podcast about how to keep the attention of the players.
Mm-hmm.
Because the GM should try to keep that pace going. I remember now. The structure of the game. So a thing that I used to do super heavy. Like super heavy at the beginning of streaming, because I wanted the show to be as entertaining as possible. And it kind of went now after 50 episodes, 50 games in each campaign, I'm a little bit more relaxed on it because I kind of already know the beats of my players at each table. Was as an example, be like, all right, introduction should take 10 minutes. Okay, so we're 10 minutes in. All right, cool. We're going to be at the tavern, and that's going to be 30 minutes. All right. And then by that time, they're going to do this fight, so I'll introduce the villain and go on break. Okay, cool. After break, we're going to fight. That's going to be about an hour. Okay, then we'll have 30 minutes left. We'll do the resolution of the fight. That's a little bit about how I try to pace my things. And it's always like... the idea of this is a idea. This is not the written set in stone of how.
So basically, you're willing to color outside the lines as you're planning this. So.
Yes, yeah. So like I have my notes of how I think the game's going to go. We have a joke in Wednesday stream after where it's like, all right, cool. These 4 pages thrown out the window because you guys completely avoided. They have a
just dump 20 pages down.
Yeah, they have a very amazing tactic of like. Wait, what about that one thing you said 20 sessions ago? About that one villain. We're going to go to that town now. I'm like, but you can. You do whatever you want. All right, cool. I guess all these pages about the town you're in right now are not important. Throw those away.
Hey, what about that one obscure NPC that you made on the fly like 30 sessions ago that had zero significance? What about that guy?
That's happened so much in Friday's game. Chaddington was not supposed to be important, and he became the sole heart of Krovasa.
Chaddington is
goddamn
blessing. I love him so much,
and that's why you keep notes of this. Because
I'm sorry, I was obsessed with him.
No, it wasn't just you; it was everybody. Including chat, was obsessed with Chaddington.
Oh my god! Look! The second that you had him swinging that sword like he was pretending to be West, I was like, oh my heart! No, I need to make him my best friend.
I mean, you guys tried to you were using him, but you're trying to befriend him, and that's why he's like, oh, maybe I do have friends over here.
Oh.
Great. But at the beginning, I was like super to the freaking minute about how long I think things were going to go. And that's just because I didn't want to dull and bore people. I was also very timid because it was a new table of saying, all right, guys, let's move along. Yeah. And there was times at the first maybe 5 to 10 episodes per game that I was like, well, this in my head, I was like, this is taking too long. I mean... Yeah, they're role playing. They're extending their theater legs, but we need to keep going. And
isn't it frustrating? Isn't it frustrating when they all want to go a certain direction that you have no plan to go in and not even prepared for, and they think they're really on to something, and you have to really kind of let's go this way. Let's kind of nudge them away. But they think for sure there's something hot there.
100%, yes, that happens a lot. And it's one, learning how to have that poker face because you had that planned all along, and that's why I love those random charts because it's like, oh, well, okay, role play. Oh, guys, we're gonna go on break like 5 minutes early. No problem. Don't worry, guys. I'm just looking through this book for no reasons. Okay. Oh, I guess we're gonna fight 30 wolves. Okay, cool. And then what I love about those situations is that it helps that practice those creative muscles in the dungeon and I love it. I get excited when that happens. It's like I have nothing planned. There's the initial panic of like I have nothing planned for this, and then they start talking. And I use the Seven Dwarves mentality we're role playing when I don't know what they are. Have one characteristic. They like whistling, as an example. Okay, they're whistling. Oh, okay. One of the players asks a question. Oh, why did they whistle? Oh, well, they were in the circus, and that's how they and then this happened, and by the end of it you have a completely new NPC and a story mark and like a side of a city that they're so excited to explore next session. And it's like, oh, none of that was planned, but now it's in plot and it's important. Or the idea of in film there's that saying of sometimes you have to kill your babies. I'm like, I want this to happen in my story. It just doesn't make sense. It does not make sense in television right now. It does not make sense in film right now. But you have those ideas in your head, and you're like, oh, that whistling guy. Maybe he whistles because he heard that song from the jailer, which relates to the jail in a different city from that escaped criminal that I wanted them to meet because I thought it was a cool villain idea. But there was no way for them to interact with it. But now I can translate that. And the player's like, oh my god, how did you weave these things together? And it's like, imagination! And that also can go with like a loose build world, where the imagination is 50% of the DM explaining it, and the rest of it, the players grasping and then throwing things out into the air, and then collectively telling the story. But for players though, how can the player assist with the story and pacing? One of the things that we were had a little like discussion about was interruptions. Trying to minimize those, trying to only before game, after game, during break, ask those questions that might not be necessarily that important in the middle of the game. In the middle of the game, focus on the game. Don't focus on.
Especially when it's not your turn, because I mean, sometimes it'll be somebody's turn. It's listen, I want to do this. I mean, like, wait till your turn to announce that instead of take away somebody's time.
Yeah, and that it's especially in combat. It's combat is can slow things down a lot, but I also feel that combat is a necessary for the game's mechanic. The reason why I love the idea of combat is because it's a collective problem solving that the group does, and it releases those synapses in your brains that are saying, hey, we did a good thing, we solved something collectively, we did it. That is a sign of progression because there was an obstacle, we beat the obstacle, therefore we have progressed. And sometimes it's just like a random encounter. Here's wolves. But those are really important things in the game. I
would say going off on combat and like how players can help progress the game, especially because combat takes up a good chunk of a game, especially. If it's going to be like a lengthy boss fight or like a mid boss, like something or something with like a lot of enemies on the board that you're going to be spending a long time rolling dice for. Yeah. Like 12 ogres.
Yeah. I have a little trick on that end when you're done about the ogres.
I tried to have them, but apparently they all rolled the same initiative, so fuck it.
Well, group initiative for like all the ogres go on one turn, all the goblins go on one turn, helps the speed.
Yeah, which, I mean, I had a lot of ogres, and I tried to break them up into two groups, ogre group A, ogre group B, so I rolled different initiatives for them so that, it could, like, break up the combat a bit. Yeah. But they both rolled the same initiative.
Which the dice decide what happens.
They were literally back to back, and I was like, "Fuck it, just put 12 ogres on the initiative list. I don't care."
There is one of my favorite DMs ever, my bro Nick, who who is I will always praise him for his beautiful mind. Because he is a computer. He works as a computer, so he problem solves computer situations, and then it's like, oh, acting as well. For the DM specifically, sidetracking a little bit from player, when you have like enemies versus enemies, it's like, because that's how the story progresses. Oh, here's the ogres and here's the guards that you guys hired, and you guys plus the big baddie. One of the things, which can be something that's pre-established, and it just depends on how the DM or GM wants to handle that. It could be not said or said, but once you say it, you can never unsay it anymore. That's another thing for DMs. As soon as you reveal your secrets, the players will always have that information.
Can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, exactly. But a thing he had is like, well, this fight is U5. And what's the challenge rating? 2 ogres and a wizard, as an example. But there's 15 additional things and creatures or people fighting. So I will focus on you guys as a dungeon master. So it's these 5 plus these 3. Everybody else is complete background noise. You're not worried about that. You can do things like stretching the board out so you physically don't see it until the players want to interact with them. Another thing he did was he does roll dice, but it's never an attack or damage. It's just 3 hits, you're down. So, does it hit their AC? Cool. All right, that's 1 hit. After 3, they're down. I'm not going to calculate 15 characters and these people have 20 HP, these have 53 HP, these have 11 HP. No, 3 hits, you're done. Or it could be just an idea of like solid attack, solid damage. The monster manual has the average to hit and the average for damaging. You can pre-calculate, if you want to be nitty-gritty about it, you can pre-calculate how the fight would have gone, keep that information to the side, describe it if you need to. The players are doing their thing. At the end, you already have the math and the results. And that keeps things going. Because when you're rolling attack for 12 different goblins, it slows things down. The players have nothing to do with those 12 goblins. Or if they do, why? Why are we fighting these 12 goblins? Was that important? If it's not, I understand we're in a goblin village. I understand every goblin has their own agency and they're doing things. But let's separate that. Focus on because when you're watching a movie, and like Lord of the Rings, the Battle of Helm's Deep, we're not watching every single ogre or orc fight every single man of Rohan. We're just watching Legolas and
I think,
man, the Falcons only rolled initiative.
I guess the old D&D, because I know the other games I played, there was always a morale roll. So that way you can see if the person really has the heart to get into a fight, or really is somebody like, you know what, I'm going to kind of back a little bit and let everybody take it. Then I'll make a decision. Oh, we're losing. I'm checking out. Good night.
Yeah, I do that with highly intelligent creatures, dragons, and or really dumb people who are like, I was just hired. I'm not gonna waste my life for this guy. I'm hired hands. I'm not gonna do it.
He didn't pay me as much as I wanted him to.
Yeah. And I have this. I read it from The Monsters Know What They're Doing, where a lot of highly intelligent creatures, unless they're hunting for food or whatever, they want to preserve their lives. So the idea of like, as soon as a monster or creature or whatever you're fighting reaches 75% of their hit points, like, do they really want to duke it out? They know they're about to lose. They're there. It's 5v1. That dragon is gonna fly away. Why?
If they have a way out, they'll give up. If they don't have a way out, they'll fight to the death.
Which also speeds things up because, do I really want to spend the next 20 minutes here? We all know the party's gonna win and the dragon's going to lose.
Yeah.
Also, there, which on that point, I do find it funny because there has been creatures and entities that have ran away, and every single time that happened, Colton's like, I'm not gonna let that person run away. Nope. Go and kill it. I'm like, all right, that's a separate initiative.
Right.
We'll deal with that when we deal with it, because we got to keep this groovy train going.
Oh, Ariel, he's so determined every time.
He is, yeah, and that's playing to his character. It's not.
Yeah. I get that. He's definitely playing into his character, and I really do appreciate that of always playing into your character, what your character is going to do.
And speaking of character, as a thing that I don't have anywhere in my notes, but the idea of for players how to keep the pace of the going. There is a conversation of like problem players, which all could be solved at session 0 when you explain the rules.
Explain the rules, explain everybody's preferences and like comforts and et cetera and et cetera.
Yes. Comforts is a great thing that I did not touch on. That's like a beautiful thing. What are you not okay with? That's also something that should always be at session 0. But something along the lines that I read every now and then of like problem clearers, using like the Joker example because it's the easiest to understand. Like, I am chaotic, neutral. I don't give a fuck about anything, and I do whatever I want. And like, okay, cool. Why did you attack your player? Like, why was it? If it's not provoked,
what my character would do.
Yeah, like understanding that this is not something that's important to the story. It's just like I'm gonna shoot an arrow at my bro. Why? Because he took my cake and I want my cake. Okay,
I'm just so random.
Why? Why is that important? Does that actually progress the story? Again, understanding that this is like you're taking the story seriously and you're streaming, and this isn't a lols, we do whatever we want game.
Well, it's also about people that are selfish about their player. The most obnoxious obnoxious player I've ever seen was the game that Firstborn was running. And the husband of her friends. And I kept telling her, they'd play it at the house, and I'd watch, and I'd kind of tell her, kill him, get him out of there, because it's ridiculous what he's doing. He's taking all the time from everybody.
Yes.
Because he has to pull out his books. Well, in this rule book, it says I can do this, and this. It's like no respect for the game master whatsoever. So
that's horrible. And this is going from different styles of gaming. I don't disagree with anything that you said. I think I would handle it differently just because we're different people. My idea would have been like, yo, bro, we need to talk. Like, your character does not work. Why? Why are you doing this? And that falls onto the player. If your character is a random lol individual, like, you wrote a bad character. And that's take them away. Just if it's a home game, that's easy fix. All right.
Right.
Stop doing that. Stop being a jerk. Play your character how you should be playing. Well, I don't want to. Okay, then this isn't your table. If 5 out of the 6 people here do not agree with your intentions, change that. Or you can leave, because I'd rather preserve our friendship than fight over how we want to do this. Like, I have friends that play D&D probably longer than I have, but we're going to take a time. I mean, like, we're starting between 6 and maybe 6:30. Like, people can go get food. Like, that's not going to fly in my table because I have a little bit tighter schedule than that. So I'm not going to not be your friend because of how I want to play a game. So it keeps the preservation of the friendship to just say, go away. And that's a important thing that you should do. Don't create a character that is a problem. It's also a cool thing to, if you write a story for your character, your background, and it has something to do with the overall campaign, session 0, explain what the theme is, that helps them stay intact, have their attention in the game. And having their attention in the game helps the speed of the game, helps them move forward and not slow down on mediocre things that really shouldn't be slowing down on. Also, if you like, well, I really want to play a character X that has nothing to do with the main plot. That's fine, but you, the player, and you, the GM, should discuss how is this character going to move forward in that story. What are their importances? What do they want to establish? Maybe you just want to have this story told. The arc is done. Bring in a new character. That's totally fine as well, as long as the player, the DM, and the table, if they need to, have a coherent discussion on how to move forward. And that to the basic answer to every question about anything in life, it's communication. Talk about it, and usually the problem will be solved, in my opinion. But going back to main topic here.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't want your players to be focusing on some rogue idiot instead of the game itself.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
yeah. And that's when you as the dungeon master, the game master, you need to be like, I'm putting my foot down. I have to. Like it might not be pleasant at the time, and but talking about it will usually fix it. And if it is unfortunately that situation where like the player needs to leave, then the player needs to leave to keep the story going. We all agreed to be here at this time. We all agreed this person's the dungeon master. We all agreed that this is what's going to happen. You are the narrator. You are the person keeping pace. You control the game. Like that has all been agreed on. So, as a DM, don't feel bad about saying, "Hey, Samuel, stop stabbing the players," because just stop. That's rude and not helpful to anybody, and it's just don't do that. To players, like the rules lawyer that you were discussing, I do think rules lawyers are cool. I might be the only person in all of the internet who thinks that. In their time and place, they're good.
Yes.
It like, because the DM is doing 100 things at one time, if you have established like, hey, the Frankie boy, how does that spell work again? Oh, it's on page 235. It does this. Cool, thanks. And then that's it. The rules lawyer should not interrupt the dungeon master. The rules lawyer should be, I know that information whenever you need it. Or, something, we have technology. Here's a quick text. If the dungeon master sees it, cool. If they don't, then that's fine. They didn't see it.
It's the dungeon master's choice.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. And like one of the things that when we were discussing things Friday that was a great point from Dickie was like, it, as an example, something like, fireball, that's what we were saying, like fireball does fire damage, but if the GM's like, lightning, maybe there's a reason why he said that, and you shouldn't interrupt the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It just because the spell works this way for normal wizards, maybe this dragon has manipulated the elements to make a lightning-based fireball, as an example.
Well, and you could say your character's used to seeing this happen, but all of a sudden this happens, which means your character's never experienced this. Mm-hmm. What could it mean? And then get their head, start thinking.
Yeah,
and start working.
Yes, which goes to like to DMs in the player role for other campaigns. It's always like, well, that's not how that works. Keep your mouth shut because it's not your game. First of all,
right?
If it has been established that like, oh, you're assisting me, then a quiet text, a quiet message on Discord, versus a excuse me, I'm gonna put my glasses up. That's not how it works. As per usual for my games, I always tell the players, if it's fundamentally wrong and you really, really feel that like, yo, Jesus, that's not how that works. And I will say, oh, I know that, but we're going to continue going. Cool, end of discussion, point was made. But staying there and arguing over it is definitely when that rules lawyer crosses the line. And I believe a lot of people feel that they're that rules lawyer trying to cross that line. But party roles are important. Like if you have a set note taker, that helps speed things along. Not that this is like a terrible thing, in my opinion. But if like the entire party is like, oh, how do you spell that character's name? Like, I don't think that's really like terrible. But if it's like, can you repeat the poem again? Poem is repeated, and like, oh, I actually didn't get that. Can you repeat it again? Well, like Ryan just took the notes. Just read it from Ryan's book.
Right.
Those things can help. Having a yes or a no to having a treasurer. If you all agree no treasures, as soon as the DM gives out the gold, the DM can just be like, here is it calculated. Here is it evenly. Shopping. If it's in the player's handbook, just go get it. You have the gold. You can do that on your own time. Having something like a party leader, which is something that we used to have back when I played in high school, that helped the speed go a lot. And it has both good and bad things depending on the table. But the party leader is like when everybody's discussing and we're not getting anywhere. We all elected person A to be the party leader. You make the decision now. You heard our causes. You heard both sides of the conversation. The DM's like, all right, so Dickie, what do we do? Instead of table, what do we do? I try to like party, what do we do? Because there has not been an established leader. But it could help with like, all right, this is Orctet's mission. When we can't move forward, Orctet decides what we're doing. When I know 4th edition had like character roles, like there was the leader, there was the healer, the striker. So like you knew what your role was. That's cool and all, but that doesn't mean that just because you have a high charisma paladin or bard, they're automatically going to be the voice of the group. You could have a fighter who has 0 charisma, but tends to like push the story forward. And that's fine, as long as it's established and the group understands. And another thing that, especially with streams, especially with the DM doing 100 things and with like a table, having I guess assistant, like the GM assistant, like a table management person, like the person who is sitting at this chair is going to handle the stream deck, and every time we're in a fight, they put the character cards up. We have established that at the end of the table is where the potions are, so it's that person's job to pass out the potions. Like we have someone who the most techie person will sit at this chair, and they're going to handle the laptop because the DM has 100 things they're doing. So having these players, having someone type up initiative helps out a lot, especially with like me for dyslexia. So like those things will definitely help speed up the role, and you have. Now the player also has a set agency in the game that like I control this aspect, so I'm focusing as well. And speaking of initiative counters and tracking little for players in combat, look at the initiative board. Look at when is your turn. I try to, and I know that we all, the people that have DM'd are like, you're next. Read whose turn. This person's next.
Right.
That you should not think of what spell you're casting when it's your turn.
Right, you should be planning while it's somebody else's turn.
Yeah,
and that's by letting them know like you're next and you're on deck. Mm-hmm. That gives time to start realizing, well, when it's my turn, I better pay attention to what's happening. Mm-hmm. So when it's my turn, the options I got. Instead of sometimes what gets me is some people will use 50 words to say what they're doing. They can use 10.
Yeah,
thinking their way through it other than just saying I'm going to do this.
And I get that you want to like establish like, oh, I'm putting a little flair in my attack, or that's fine. But when it's like you said, when it's I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do, like you will the unfortunate like the truth of the matter is, my dude, you had 12 minutes to think about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like if like I was gonna cast polymorph on the person, but now they're doing this, I get that that totally messed up your plan right before your turn. But what are you doing? Because realistically, your character, and it's a game, I get it, but your character only has 5 seconds. This is all happening in succession. This is sequenced.
What I did for Firstborn when she was having trouble with this guy taking all his time, and some people take time making, I gave her little small hourglasses, one for a minute, one for 2 minutes, one for 3 minutes. I said, here, use, and then I guess you used them because things got kind of easier after that. So
I do. I've only done that once, and like the second the sand ran out, they're like, I'm doing this. I'm like, thank you. You, like if they're taking too long, like, bro, you have a minute. I'm sorry, we need to keep going. And like one of my favorite D&D shows, the DM has like, I'm sorry, 3 seconds. Tell me what you're doing. 1, 2, 3. Next person. And like, oh, but I wanted to cast this spell. I'm sorry, you had your turn and you didn't do it. And that might seem, if that seems too harsh, it's your table. You're managing. You're the DM. But that will I don't think it's a terrible punishment. It's really not. A punishment is like going after them. You didn't do something on your turn. All the orcs target that person. Yeah. Like that's don't do that. Yeah. That's intentionally malicious.
And I think a dungeon master that does that has to have an experienced table to work with.
Yeah.
Because unexperienced, you can't do the 3-second rule.
Yes.
More patient.
Exactly. I do like a minute or seeing the hourglass. Yeah. That is because at the end of it, in a, let's say worst case scenario, you couldn't think of anything to do. You froze. All right, I'm sorry, my dude. We're passing it along. You're gonna remember. Oh crap, my turn was done. 12 minutes are going to pass by until my turn's up again. I have to think about what I'm gonna do. And for our Wednesday game, because it's new for a lot of the people there, and it's Harry Potter based, so it's a lot of magic. And magic is 1/3 of the player's handbook, so it's an extensive thing to do. For the atmosphere of the game, almost everybody is a magic user. And even the ones who aren't magic based still have spells because it's a Harry Potter universe. And one of the things that we discuss is before the game starts, sit down with the dungeon master, have a plan. Turn A, I cast mage armor and this spell. Turn 2, I'm going to cast magic missile. Oh, they're next to me, then I'm going to hit them with my dagger. Like, I already have 3 options of what to do. If I am like, I don't know what to do, you already have 3 options. Are they close to me? Then do this. Are they far away from me? Then do this. It's the beginning of the turn, and then I do this. Like, that's cool. You have a pre-established idea of what you're going to do.
How many times have we been in that situation, and after we make our move, we sit there and go, oh man, I could have done that too.
Yeah, which and if that does happen, write it down.
It does.
Put it on the back of your sheet, like, oh man, I could have first done my bonus action and then my action, and I'd have done like an extra d6 of damage. Like, cool. Write it down. Write it down on your character sheet. Right next to attack, put A, B, and C, or 1, 2, 3. Then put that in paper. Put that in your mind. Engrave it. A thing on combat that I thought was our table doesn't do it, and it's for the idea of storytelling why I don't do this. But here's an idea on how to keep the pace going. A really harsh rule that my first DM had was in combat, you are not allowed to talk unless it's your turn. Nobody can say anything. Nobody can meta the game. Nobody can say... We have reaction. If it's out of your turn, someone can speak. Like, remember my character saying they're weak against lightning, but that's taking up your reaction, so no attack of opportunity. So you have to gauge that. Or some characters, like the Druid in Wednesday's game, is 100% reactionary. All his abilities are, if this happens, my spores do this. Or if this happens, my aura does this. But that's a thing that you could do And like, if you don't tell me what, they had a minute marker, like, because you have every single player is taking 5 to 6 seconds, we're not going to stretch it out for 5 minutes. We will give you the minute rule. So the DM had a little hourglass as well. 1 minute. All right, cool. We didn't do anything. It's the next person's turn. All right, and that was fine because that was like my first time playing D&D. But it didn't have that camaraderie that we have in how we play D&D here. So like, again, it's a much harsher style, but that does keep the pace going. And like you're saying in the beginning, finding that right balance for the table it's what's going to be good.
And see, the way I speed up combat is that whoever's turn it is, and they have their turn, whoever they're attacking is allowed a retaliation strike. So that way you're speeding up the fight a little bit more. Yeah,
because things are draining. Yeah, that's a good way to do it as well. Another thing that my friend Nick does that is, again, brilliant, man, is he announces it's the beginning of the round. Mm-hmm. And sometimes especially when he knows it's going to be a long fight, everybody roll your d20s like if you were attacking. Honor system, you cannot lie. Everybody roll their dice, and everybody roll their damage. So when I get to your turn, you tell me the number. 15, yes. What's the damage? 12. Okay, cool. What's your 12? Nope, I'm sorry, that misses. All right, cool. 17 hits. Oh, critical. Okay, cool. What's the double damage? All right, good.
The best way to do that is if everybody had a cup and you put the dice in there and you turn the cup upside down.
Oh, yeah.
It's your turn.
Yeah, I don't do that. I mean, not that I don't, because I have. Colton and Jeremiah have done it in a couple of games, because I've pre-established you can do that, especially because we have a timer. And like, we're running low on time, and we need to really keep this thing going. So it's okay for you to do that right here. When you do it how, like, the exaggerated way that Nick did it for a couple of times, it's not based on story now. It's based on the numbers. But for a stream, that I think the important thing is the story. So we have to keep that story going. And it's not fun to hear 15 hits, damage 20, okay, good, next. That's not entertaining. So we do slow things down a little bit for the fight. And that, I totally understand that, and I get that. But for combat, again, because combat is one of the key functions of the game, is read your character before you get on the table. It takes 5 minutes.
Yeah. Especially if you're a magic user, please.
Especially if, and if you're new to D&D, I've always heard the DM says, if this is your first character, I don't suggest you being a magic user. If you are, we'll discuss it and we'll hash things out. And it's okay and bring your book, especially if you're a magic user. Bring your book. Read your spells ahead of time. Read what your abilities are. If
read what your channel divinity does. Read what your druid stuff does.
Yes.
Like, always, like, be on top of what your reactions, what your bonuses, and what you can do as an action, because that could literally make or break a moment in a game for you. It's important to know what your characters do. Even fighters have like a million components to them, which is crazy.
But first-time players, that'd be too much information to use, because then they have too many choices to make. I think, just tell them, find something that you like, and first, and then you can go to something else if you need to. Because sometimes in the game they got to go to something else, and they can look that up right there. So
that's like having your
first
phone
time
out.
Player, just play barbarian.
I mean,
what are you gonna do? Hit that thing. What are you gonna do? Hit that thing again.
Be a dwarf, drink it.
Exactly. And it's having known what your abilities are, writing it down. Like, I think Ronnie was amazing, because it was his first time playing D&D, and he was like, this ability is at this page, and he would have his character sheet on that page. Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm reading it from the book. This is exactly what I'm doing. Like, cool. You know what you're doing, and if you didn't, you researched it before your turn. Like it was start of your turn, and that's amazing. That's great. What slows, and yes, talk to the DM and ask them questions always, but it slows the game down when it's like, so what does my spell do? Yes, the DM's probably going to know, but I'm discussing it with you in the middle of the game, so your 5-minute turn takes 7 minutes now, and then you asking the clarifications, now it's 10 minutes, and that slows it down when it has nothing to do with the progression of the story. It just has to do with the mechanics of the game. And first-time players understand that, yeah, let's discuss it, we're learning. That has been established of that is the speed of the game. But once you're episode 80, like, it's... And sometimes it's faster when it's like, what's the spell you're looking at? Like, oh, this one. Okay, this is what it does. Cool. And if the DM also says, it does this. Yeah, but it says here that it does this. Like, yeah, but there's also this line. I know, that's fluff. It does this. Like, for you, all it's doing is adding an advantage. Like, that's you're not reading its mind. Like, oh, okay. You know, just listen to the DM. You've all agreed that the DM was going to move the story along. You'll agree with that's the position. They're moving the story along. But it is hard to find that balance. I do think that...
fairness, that was a confusing line.
Wait, what?
In all fairness, that was a confusing line.
I wasn't talking about anything. I'm trying to think what you are referencing because I don't know.
When Wes casted True Strike.
So I, like, I am talking about True Strike, but I was not thinking about you.
No, it's totally fine. I remember that specific conversation. I'm like, in all fairness, that was a super vague line.
Yes, it is. It's like you understand the insights of them. So what do I understand? It's just you get an advantage, my dude. But like, no joke, I was not thinking about that. It was something else. So don't feel bad. I'm not trying to pick on you. But one of the things that I saw another podcast talk about on keeping the story flowing, which could be interpreted as keeping the pace. They said that in 3 sessions, 3 things have to happen to keep all players entertained, and to try to have that balance. Something important to the story needs to have been explained. Some deep role playing, and a fight. If you go 3 games and no fight has gone, it doesn't feel like you because we're playing a game, we want to feel like we're achieving and getting things done. So if there's no fight, that might feel a little bit lackluster. If nothing in 3 games has been explored about specifically for us here because of the game, like Limoges 2, then what's happening? Are we here fishing? What are we doing?
That happened. Actually happened to one of our games when I think we came back from the ship, and everybody wanted to go to what's his name, Chandler or whatever his name is, and go Chattington, and it was just talk. So that's why when we finished talking, I went to the bar and we got into a barroom fight. And I mean, that just picked everything up right then and there.
Well, yeah. So like, but it's that balance. For you, it might have been like that's things are slowing down. But reading the room, everybody else was having fun. So you have to understand, for the Dungeon Master's perspective, what is the middle ground. And some players, like I had a Marine friend who did not like role playing at all. He's there for the math and the dice rolling. So like he fits very well for like a Warhammer style. But we didn't play Warhammer, we played D&D. So we had a talk with him, and it's like, I understand that I don't care about any of this stuff, and I think you guys are nerds, but let's play some dice math. And like that was established. And I believe I tend to think of him a lot when trying to keep like the pace going. If a lot of games come by and we don't, like if we would have done only talking to Chattington, and then like, all right, well, whatever, nothing happened. Session 2, we're still talking to Chattington. Okay, session 3, we're only talking to Chattington. Like, then what are we here doing? Like, that's, or it's we have a fight. Next game, it's another fight, and then the next game, it's another fight. It's like
it was talking to Chattington, and if we didn't have the barroom fight, the next thing we did was travel, and talking, traveling. Okay, where's the excitement in that? Some people, you got to mix it up. It's almost like a writing.
Mm-hmm.
Best I ever learned about writing was there has to be conflict on every page. There doesn't have to be conflict in every moment in the game, but every session should have a conflict.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah, and it's 100%. Yeah, I agree with that. And if the DM at the end of the night is like, oh, there wasn't conflict. Well, let's take that in. Let's understand why there wasn't conflict in that game. What did you see? Was it the idea of how do I say it? The voiceless speak. Allow the one who is voicing their opinion to be louder. So if the one person's like, I want to roleplay the whole time, but I want to roleplay about my cat, and that's all they're doing, and the rest of nobody's like, hey, let's move along. Nobody says let's do that bar fight. Then because no one is saying let's do that bar fight to entertain, it's the person who wants to talk about their cat the whole game. Like, they get the majority, and it would feel like that's what the party wants to do. Because at the end of the day, it really should be the collective. What do we want to get out of this game? That sets the pace of it. For an entertaining story and for the viewmanship of what we're doing here, we're trying to get the story progressing forward while also entertaining, while also developing character, while also reaching specific character arcs. Because as for my games, that's how it's going to run. We have an overall plot. Each character has a story. Each character has a purpose in the world. What we're going to solve the plot, kill the big baddie at the end, and along the way, we're going to try to resolve all the individual stories that you all have given me. If we're playing a module, we understand that the story is this. You don't have to have a background, and the story will progress because it's a module. We already know what we're playing. We're playing Horde of the Dragon Queen. The end goal is to kill Tiamat. We understand that's what's going to happen. So one
thing I noticed about modules are they're not fluid. They're all broken up into chunks. So therefore, you're allowed to do things to kind of connect them together, and you can add your own adventure to it to kind of make it more, not exactly you're following the module. The module is there, and you're going through it, but there's other things going on at the same time. Because one thing I listened to on Twitch, as a matter of fact, there were these guys, they were playing Gamer World, and it was probably one of the first modules I ran. And I listened to them, and they were just playing straight off the module. And it was just like so broken up, hard to follow. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think, I use modules, yeah, but the connections, I put a lot of other story around it, intertwine. There's a lot of things that in those modules I put in there that could lead to other modules or other situations too.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what which direction characters want to go.
For sure. It's I think it's like that idea of like my earlier planning for the games of like, this is what's going to happen. Like, well, it doesn't have to be set in stone. Here is an idea to back on and to flow and to have pace, but the characters are deciding what's happening. And if we are talking too long with Chattington, the DM should be like, all right, we're moving along. We need some entertainment. We need something to progress, something to progress.
Yeah, in which sometimes it's talking with specific characters and talking with certain NPCs that could help trigger something that could unlock towards a character's resolution to a problem that they're having in their own storyline, or maybe it's something that could give a clue towards something in the plot line that we might have missed, but having a conversation again with the familiar NPC might help trigger something. So I feel like when it comes to role playing and when it comes to like talking to characters and like having that fluff, it's all about like different players, different comforts, different preferences for playing.
And
so, some, like you said, some people like all combat. Some people like the more diplomatic side, where they get to talk to characters and they get to kind of explore the world a little bit through someone else's eyes and whatnot.
yeah.
And it's all on the DM to find that balance for the table.
Eventually create the sense of adventure. And
Yes.
adventure could be in many different forms.
Yeah.
And I don't think for the DM, I just came to me, was I know talking outside the game also helps, because I know remembering like that part of the arc where you guys were like pirating for a little bit. It's like the world is so open. What do you do next? It's like, well, what do you mean? What do you do next? What are our options? It's like, well, let's discuss that. You have this person wants to go here. This person wants to go here. This person wants to go here. Where do you guys want to go? So I think I was talking to Jeremiah about this. A 100% open world might not work. It's fun in a video game, but it's not fun for audiences to listen to.
Right.
Having the world is open. Yes, the world is there to explore. Yes, but having a discussed plan on where to go, and then once we reach that destination, there is an adventure for us that the DM has pre-planned, is what makes these games so exciting. Is what draws the attention in. And at the end of the day, hopefully, that's what we'll achieve.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking at my notes to try to see if there's anything that I did not discuss. But yeah, those are all the points that I had on this conversation. What about you two? Anything that we missed, or anything that you wanted to elaborate on?
Let me check the notes that you wrote here. Anything we missed on? Well, I mean, a lot of it's just common sense that we talked about, keeping the game on track and stuff like that. But, since we do a web streaming, there are people that try to follow us, and I've tried to have some people follow us, and they all pretty much said the same thing. You guys are too slow. It slows down too much, And I said, well, we can't have adventure all the time. We have to set things up.
Yeah.
And it says, yeah, I get that, but just sometimes you talk a situation to death instead of just talk about it and then move on. And, thinking about it, there has been times that tendency has happened. Now, I don't think it's much as other people are complaining about, because, the people I asked to watch were first-time watchers and didn't know what to expect when they watched. And, and they just kind of went like, well, I don't get it. It's too slow. Never mind. Check out.
Yeah.
But we are trying to attract viewers and people to, I'd really be interested. How many actual followers do we have to our story that's been with us for some time, and that actually know our characters and actually know our adventure?
Yeah, because that's also a hard thing to do, especially with something like D&D,
right?
Because it's 3 hours long, and
right.
I will say that is, from my experience in the grand scheme of things, these are short sessions.
They are short.
I'm used to 7-8 hours.
I'm used to 4.
Yeah, so the reason why we scheduled for 3 hours is because here's just behind the scenes. My mentality was that's about the average of like a movie.
Yeah.
With us introducing and breaking all that stuff. So
right.
that's our attention span. That's what media has told us. That's what American audiences are about. But it's when we're doing what is our next episode 88, 89, it's a little hard. It's like saying, hey, do you like Supernatural? It's an amazing show. Cool. Well, start at season 5, episode 42.
Right.
Like, who is this person? Why? I don't understand what's happening. And that's hard. And that's hard to do with these games. And it's also, I've seen so many shows on Twitch and like D&D games. You're like, oh, what are they doing? How can I improve my DM style? And a lot of them, I hate saying that when I watch it, it's like, oh, I don't know what's happening. I'm not entertained.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't know the characters versus
Right.
like watching something that I've already seen from episode 1. It's like, oh, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand what's been happening. And I fell in love with them. I got to know their struggle. And I'm interested now. I'm invested into the things. So I do believe it's a little bit of a hard task to get that engagement. That in and of itself should not mean that we shouldn't try at all, because I mean we're doing it, we're talking about it. But it is slightly hard. Someone in my personal life, when they started doing like YouTube stuff, they're like, man, I'm only getting 2 or 3 views like per video. I'm gonna quit because I'm not getting what I wanted out of this. They're like, well, it's hard. Well, like we're competing against so many people all the time. YouTube is so huge, 24/7, thousands and thousands of videos. So much is happening that there is literally not enough manpower in the earth to watch the content. Same thing with Twitch. It's live all the time. And that's why you have to build those small communities. You have to build those people that love the show, that have like, oh, I like that Orc Death guy. He seems pretty cool. And then come back to like, because you were interested in Orc Death. Oh, okay, well let's see what happens with them. And then slowly you'll go and love the character and explore like, oh, well, they're fighting this dragon, but I don't really know how they got there, so I guess I'll go back to their YouTube videos and like watch it from like, oh, now I get it. But it's also, we have 90 episodes, each one being 3 hours long. Most people don't have enough time in their day to backtrack and watch all that.
You know, it'd be interesting if we could do it is have little sessions where, you know, we talk about our characters, and that way we can get more in depth. It's almost like interviewing the character.
Yeah, I like that
kind of
idea.
introducing the characters to other people to follow and stuff like that. And that
the reason why the podcast is structured as like at the beginning, I'm like, so do you have any questions about the game, anything you want to talk about? It was to try to have that a little bit of that, not specifically like an interview, but to try to like, what do you want to discuss about the game? To have a backlight on the game a little bit. And then here's the topic of the podcast. But I have thought about that. I know that at the end of the campaign, I really do want to have a podcast where it's like, let's discuss the player and their character's progression throughout the game. Yeah. I think that will be like a cool like little behind the scenes of them. But other things for because I think now we're getting to territory of viewer engagement versus like the specific initial conversation of the podcast, which I totally would love to go into if you guys are willing to journey into that adventure.
We'd probably do a podcast where we just pick one character, and then that character just tells all about the history of it and talk about it, and you know, cover everything about that character. So that way, you know, people who follow us might want to get more in depth in it.
I do like that, and because we do have breaks, so I think a great place to put those would be like in the intermissions on the breaks.
Yes.
That'd be a great little place to.
Yeah, a little 5 minute or 10 to 3 minute section. You know,
I think that'd be a cool little projects to start putting in there. Just like well, now I didn't think about the time we're gonna do. Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's a good.
I think it's doable.
You got more ideas, just not enough time to do them.
That's hopefully that's where we're gonna get the project manager situation in a bit. More behind the scenes, but we'll because everything is doable. I agree with you, Vic. We can do it, and Vicky, yes, we have so many ideas, and we're gonna do them. We just need to schedule it properly to be able to do that. Versus like the big streamers that this is their job, so all they do is wake up and do these things and plan these things and have an engaging audience. We're working with the struggle of, well, we have to go to work to eat, and we also have to edit the videos and plan it and post them and organize them and it's and we also have social lives, unbeknownst to most. We nerds do go out and do things, and there's also the struggle of the pandemic and everything that's happening and social things that are here and there. And
the only good thing about the pandemic, it allows you to sit and think and plan and brainstorm. Then it's just a matter of us putting it together.
Yeah, that is true. I've had more time to think things out here and there in my personal life, so that is a positive.
Mm-hmm.
But there's when I first heard that there was such a thing as a Critical Role, and like, what do you mean they're streaming D&D? Nobody's gonna watch that. It's too personal. Why would anyone be entertained in that? And every single person in the cast even say, like, it's gonna fail. We're doing it, but it's gonna fail. And look what it is now. The highest paying Kickstarter, one of the most popular streams. It's incredible, but it's also really hard to compete with that, because it's the first person to succeed gets the attention. It's Buffy and Supernatural are amazing, and now we have so many shows like that. It's hard to compete with the attention span.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because the specifics of Twitch versus YouTube in this situation, for audience attention, is on YouTube, go watch episode 1. You'll start from there. Story will progress, and hopefully the attention and the progression of the story will keep going. But for Twitch, it's hard. It's when they see episode 90, it's like, I don't fucking know what's happening. Well, I'm not gonna watch it. Versus episode 1, like, we had a large amount of people on Sunday watching because it was episode 1. And when I'm thinking about it, it's like, episode 1 of Sacred World had like 20 views, like when we were live, versus nowadays we're trending at the 10s, and those are the fans that stayed. But that's a discussion for a different day of more mechanics.
Right. Yeah.
So as I try to cover my mouth as I burp.
Let it out, man. Let it out.
Bleh. All right, it's already too late. It's already happened. I think that will do it for our discussion for tonight.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody that stayed and listened. Appreciate y'all being here and hearing us out.
I hope we inspired some people in thinking certain ways.
Yeah. If even one piece of information went into your earballs and triggered something like, oh, I should do that to improve the game, or I should stop doing that to improve the game. Cool. I'm glad that we were able to help. But this will be put on Spotify and on YouTube soon. Information for our friends is down below, for the Alistair Project, for our merch store, for Talon and Claw. Links to Black Lives Matter is also down below, for those who want to get educated or involved. We'll see you next time. See you on the next podcast.
See ya.
All right. Adios, everyone. Please be safe. Take care.
Peace out.
Bye.